Welcome to Fouts Boxing Theory. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Canelo versus Crawford in what was a very dominant performance from Crawford, one that I predicted, well over a year ago. I was talking about this fight. The fight went exactly how I thought it was going to be. I still lost money on the fight because I actually bet on Crawford to KO Canelo. It was plus 650 when I took the bet. I should have made it when it was like 800 or whatever it was. It was something crazy. I might have been 1,000 at one point. But anyway, I really thought that Crawford was going to knock Canelo out. I thought he was going to put the pressure on him. But we're going to be taking a look at some all-time great skills, all-time great flaws, and some adjustments. This fight was crazy, crazy dense here. Man, and some just beautiful, beautiful sequences here, like Canelo or Crawford, pendulum walking onto the line here, getting a lead hand control, parrying the rear hand that's trying to intercept Crawford here, boom, and then coming forward with some counters. We had some really, really, really amazing stuff to look at. This is just a couple of like small clips. Boom, picking him off here in between this. And this is like one of those things. It's just this sequence here just kind of demonstrates just kind of how far ahead Crawford was when he was circling and moving around, finding holes. Boom, right there in what Canelo's doing. And then Canelo's doing a 1-1-2 here. Boom, and picking him off in between his combination right there with the jab right there. Again, Crawford was just, most of this fight leaps and bounds ahead of uh, Canelo. And right there, boom, boom. That kind of sums up most of Canelo's offense in this fight. Jumping on the line here with that left hook, and then jumping on the line here with this kind of 1-2 kind of thing. I just want to kind of show those clips. Those are like very, very, very important clips to kind of highlight or to kind of start the kind of film study we're going to be taking a look at. Now, the start of the fight here starts off with a little bit of lead hand control from Crawford, and then as soon as he touches, he immediately takes a stepping jab here. Kind of a grainy clip, but it's because it's really, really tiny. It was like right at the start. Now, off of that lead hand control, immediately controlling, right? Looking to pick some stuff off. Boom, boom. Again, double jabs here. And this lead hand control, this leashing that we're going to see from Crawford, control, control. Now, the first all-time great skill that we're going to talk about, and I don't want to highlight it in that little tiny clip, right? But Crawford jumps on the line, he touches the lead hand of Canelo, and then he immediately throws another jab here. He's going to do the same kind of tactic. He touches the lead hand, and then he immediately moves into a body jab. Um, Mike Tyson described this. He described a phenomenon in which you make two punches sound like one. It's the most beautiful thing that you can do. It's amazing if you can do it. Ba-ba! You just got to throw so fast. And the way that I teach boxing and the way that I teach combat sports for MMA as well is this phenomenon doesn't just exist for punching. It exists in all facets of combat. And we're going to be talking about how this theory and how I teach it, called two punches sound like one, right? This theory. That's what I to remind people, right? Boom, boom. I teach it. Beat, 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 beat. There's this guy, Luke Thomas. I think it is. It's the MMA guy. He did a Canelo breakdown and he started saying beat, beat. Look at how fast he does it. Beat, beat. Again, another guy who's a huge fan of my work. And by fan, I mean he talks about boxing exactly how I break it down on my Patreon and all this stuff. But this concept is very, very, very important, okay? And he doesn't understand what he's even teaching there when he talks about it. Again, he's not like a combat sports guy, right? He's a passenger. He's learning from film, right? He can't do any of this. But the concept is very important because Crawford gets here with this lead hand control, pop, and then he immediately moves into another shot here. And the presence of the theory of two punches sound like one doesn't just pertain again to just punching. It pertains to controlling the line and peeling, making an attack and peeling, making an attack and then making a follow-up attack. Right. And we're going to talk about that as it has such a massive effect on this overall film and film study. And usually you don't get fights where the guys are good enough that it matters that much. Now, as we see Crawford here getting to the line here with a little bit of lead hand control, he's touching the line with his leash here, right? And it allows him to control and leave the line here, right? Notice, very important that when he touches the line, he also observes the rule of make two punches sound like one. So he doesn't smother the line after making his presence there. He's going to be getting to the line, boom. And if he doesn't, right, now Canelo gets touched on the line, and now Crawford explodes after making his presence on the line and showing him and Canelo where they each are, right? Because if you describe the lead hand control as a tool of measurement, right, Crawford is using the lead hand control. Oh, it's my rangefinder. It's this, but it works for both fighters. Both fighters are going to figure out where each other are based on your lead hand control. Now, Canelo, if we go back a little bit, again, if we think about that rule, two punches sound like one, touching the line, right? And as Crawford touches the line, he's going to be taking a small step off, and when he doesn't, he's going to touch it, boom, and then he's going to make an attack here. But we can see him if we go back just a little bit, boom, and then off, right? And then again, that rule is very, very, very important. See how he touches the glove and then he moves off of the line? Because if Canelo were to take this beat here, touch, boom, and then throw a punch or explode into something, right? Make two punches sound like one from that moment, then he would have a significant advantage or a significant opportunity if Crawford was going to be moving slowly after making that touch, right? So just like what happens here, inevitably, someone decides to take advantage of that, bop, and then he throws the shot here. Now, he also does something also a little bit tricky as well. As he gets him, he kind of pulls his glove in here a little bit to help him generate a little bit momentum. But, he's getting touched a little bit. It's not a super significant strike. But more importantly, Canelo is getting to see over and over again how fast Crawford is. Okay, and this is really, really, really important. And again, for the whole film study, the two punches sound like one concept is very important. Now, Canelo is going to use this same concept as he gets to the line here. This is him trying to feint here, right? Now, notice he doesn't get full lead hand control. He doesn't control that much space. He keeps his hand really close, and he doesn't get as close to Crawford as Canelo, or as he doesn't get as close to Crawford as Crawford was getting to him, right? Notice he made full contact with his glove before exploding into a shot. But Canelo's going to throw this feint here, and then he's going to break into this second feint here. That's the one that he jumps into his left hook to the body. But Crawford, he's ready for it. Up, boom. And it's not really enough to really surprise him. He's able to kind of still react to the beat, to the timing. The two punches sound like one timing that Canelo is making here, where he goes up, flashes his feint, and then flashes his second feint, boom, and Crawford's able to kind of get off the line. But again, we see Canelo trying to connect something to his feint very quickly, where the two punches sound like one theory. Now, as we continue going forward, here we've got a little bit of Canelo trying to weave through the line, giving a little pendulum. We see him do this move all the time. Now, as he crosses the line here, that was his little probe or his little feint here. We're going to be looking for opportunities for him to control Crawford. Now, as he crosses the line here, he could be throwing a rear hand. Okay, now it's very important that we talk about this because as he's weaving through the line, that's where he's going to find all his opportunities to probe. And this is one of those. This is one of the first places that he's going to find an opportunity to probe with his rear hand. And now he's never actually going to do that as he cycles through his positions and he weaves through the line. Again, controlling Crawford's lead hand here. He's like, don't jab me as I come and I pendulum, right? And he's trying to cover that beat. And then he makes it to the front foot again. And again, brings his rear shoulder forward, crosses the line to the left side. He's on the left side of Crawford's head here and doesn't throw his rear hand, doesn't use it to control any space, doesn't feint Crawford. Again, doesn't really get Crawford out of position off of his front foot. Crawford gets to kind of just chill here, right? Have a very, very, very relaxed leash here. Now, notice how much control Crawford is getting with his lead hand. Also, real quick, all-time great flaw. He's going to pivot on the front foot. Okay, brings his weight, boom. We're going to take a look at this and talk about this a lot later because it does pose a significant impact on the overall fight and the fight theory. Especially if we think about not what happened in the fight, but what could happen and what will happen in the future of Terence Crawford's career when people study his tape and they're like, it's the John Jones effect. When everyone's studying his tape, they're going to figure out how to beat him, right? Everyone's been figuring it out. Then they take something new to the ring and everyone tries this trick and this trick and then this trick. And then now there's 10 different tricks. Everyone's trying all at once. Now it's enough to compete with them, something like that. But anyway, pivoting on the front foot right there. Now, feinting him here again. That big move that Canelo likes to do. He's going to jump into that big left hook. It was very, very, very predictable. And Canelo gets kind of baited into feinting it, right? Crawford kind of shuffles directions and changes positions here and goes the other way. And now again, he's going to do something here. Jumps on the line with a 1-2. Now, when we think about this idea, it's very, very, very important because we want to think about the idea of make two punches sound like one. Okay, if we're always cognizant of this idea, that our opponent is going to use the first move that they throw at us to control space. They're not really going to hit us, and there's going to be a follow-up. As soon as they get full control, boom, we're going to have to make an immediate move off the line, because if we're assuming that our opponent is not an idiot and we give them a little bit of credit and we say, okay, well, maybe he threw this punch because he wanted us in this position. So maybe there's a follow up, and as soon as we get controlled, we peel with two punches sound like one theory. Again, Canelo, because he winds up being so obvious with his overall movement, he's always jumping on the line, boom, boom. As long as you're aware of this timing, he's very easily able to react to this shot. And Canelo exerts a tremendous amount of energy, boom, and then Crawford makes one basic peel, one basic step off of the line, and is able to escape where Canelo is looking to land his big jumping, leaping shot onto the line. And this is like one of the biggest problems that Canelo had in the fight, was that all of his offense wound up being very, very obvious for Crawford to read. Okay, now again, getting good control of the line, control, gets off the line with the leash, and he's going to touch the leash and then touch him to the body. Now again, Crawford was using this timing off of his leash early in the fight to push Canelo off of his line, to steal points, and completely outbox him. Now, if we take a look at this clip here, again, Canelo, when he rejoins the line here, he jumps onto the line, two punches sound like one, boom, and then he throws this shot. Crawford very easily sees the first movement onto the line. He reaches for it with his own lead hand, right? Boom. And then he's able to transition into his block for the next beat. Again, it's not surprising him, but I do want to point out that this is not the greatest block, okay? A lot of the shots do wind up making it around the guard and glancing and grazing Crawford, but in a it is inches and miles, right? Inches are miles in boxing, and it does have a significant impact during the overall course of a fight, right? Being able to mitigate the damage by rolling with the shots, and not getting hit super cleanly. But over a career, right, making sure that you learn to fix that up, because eventually someone, and Crawford is moving up in weight. Crawford's going to be fighting bigger. These guys are going to be bigger guys. They're not just going to be bigger and skinny and lanky and awkward, but they're going to be big and strong. So when they find these holes, they're going to be hitting him harder than the guys that were finding the holes in the lower weight classes. And I do want to point out, Canelo's not a big guy. Crawford and Canelo are both little guys here. So the angles that he needs to really expose Crawford, because he's not that big himself, he does touch him. He just, as we see in the fight, he's just not as good as Crawford. Now again, jumping onto the line, this is very interesting because Crawford is going to be in the corner here, and he's going to move his back foot here. And now as he looks to take a step onto the front foot here, Canelo jumps onto the line and blitzes him here, gives him a little race with this left hook to the body. Now, we saw Oscar De La Hoya outbox Bernard Hopkins for 9 rounds, then get hit with one liver shot by Bernard Hopkins and get knocked out and go down. Right? You can't just let your opponent bash on your liver, right? But also, if we take a look at this guard here from Crawford, there's a massive hole here, right? There's a massive hole here, boom, and to sneak it in that space, and Crawford's not guarding his body or his head perfectly, okay? But this was a massive source of Canelo's offense throughout the fight. Now, again, when we think about that idea of make two punches sound like one, again, Canelo, he's going to make a move here. Boom, boom. And we can't discount this sudden movement in front of Crawford, because when we think about this overall theory, we've seen our opponents go, jump on the line and go 1-2, jump on the line, go 2-3, do defensive moves and then do offensive moves and then do defensive moves. Crawford is seeing this move coming from Canelo a mile away, right? That first move, as he closes the distance, boom, and then tries to jump into this shot, and he winds up just barely being too far to land. Now Crawford's defending it fine, right? He could be maybe landing counters or this or that or whatever, but more importantly, if we think about that idea, two punches sound like one, he's just telling on himself over and over again. Now leash, gets a little bit of lead foot dominance. And I want to point out that Crawford here, right? He's going to be moving his back foot as he controls with the front jab. And now he's going to use the second jab here to move his front foot. And now he's found a way to move both of his feet and control the line, right? Because Canelo could have been punching at the same time that Crawford was punching with either of those moves, but Crawford used those controls, those probes right there, to move his feet. And now he's got lead foot dominance, and he's able to get close enough that when Canelo tries to pendulum step out, right? And you notice he does a very, very quick shuffle. He can't even go that far because Crawford gets so close to him and he doesn't even realize, and whacks him. Does an excellent, excellent job. Again, boom, boom, controls him on both beats while he's penduluming, and then is able to land this shot right around the guard. All-time great skill, right? Now notice, Canelo does the same exact move that Crawford did right there. It's very important, but Crawford is kind of doing he's chilling, right? Very relaxed shot, very relaxed shot. He's getting a very wide lead foot dominance, and Canelo just immediately is jumping from really far away and explodes. Ha ha, right? There's nothing, as particular about it as what Crawford is doing. And it's one of the reasons why Crawford's able to see it coming so well. Now, again, jumps on the line with the 1, throws the 2, and Crawford actually blocks this with his wrist. It may touch him a little bit on the face, but most of that is being blocked. Again, he's shaking his head right there, but we can see, boom. Again, look at where it lands right here. It's landing on his glove here. It's completely being blocked. And again, Canelo is telegraphing the second shot. And I don't want to say telegraphing, right? Because this movement that he's doing is still very important. It's just this is not where it goes, right? When everyone's just standing still. The guy has perfect control of your lead hand. Crawford knows exactly where he is when Canelo enters the line with his lead hand. He's like, okay, I'm safe on that first beat. I'm safe right there. Okay, now I'm just going to move a little bit here, block that shot. And again, one of the biggest problems is that Canelo is just using so much energy, and he's not getting any points. Now we're going to talk about why that's important later, right? Now again, Canelo, when he does it, he's immediately jumping. It's exerting. It's always from the right side. All his attacks are the same. Boom. And then very, very easily picked off right there. Now, he's got to choose body or head. Boom, boom. When you have a guy who's a hard puncher and he's a good puncher and he's going to be throwing, big shots at you when he throws the right hand, it might be a body shot, it might be a head shot. You can't block the body and the head at the same time, both of them perfectly. If you choose to try to do both of them, they're both going to have subtle holes. And then the follow-up shot, if you try those kind of guards where you block both, if he makes an adjustment to where the shot goes and he's like, okay, I'm going to be more particular with where I go with the body shot so that I can get the gap that's present when he's doing the both block, then he forces him to choose body or head, and then it's always 50-50s. Okay, and we're going to talk about this is very important because it is some of the few times that Canelo does actually make very solid contact on Canelo. Okay. Now, again, Crawford getting a lot of value with the leashing here, and he's going to give him a little control here, little feint right here, boom, and now feints him there, right? And now Canelo moves off the line himself, and Crawford uses the opportunity to take that big wide step. Now, notice, I want to point out, he doesn't try to start moving and circling to his right, right in front of Canelo. He looks to take that big step right here. Now he's going to pendulum and get that lead leg planted, right? But he doesn't want to do that when he's right in front of Canelo because Canelo can jump on the line and throw that body shot. So he wants to do that while he's out of range, okay? So getting and trying to do that same thing. And now again, Canelo is going to cut the ring off right here, push him this way. And again, that's one of his best moves, right? And then tries to jump on the line and throw this shot around the guard. And we take a look at that. It gets picked off on the guard. But we can see that there's still a hole there. If Canelo throws this shot a little better, he can land it around the front of that guard. But we can also see there's a place on the body that he can be landing it as well. It's not the most effective guard from Crawford. But Canelo is exerting a lot of energy. He's not really getting to pin Crawford down. He's not really getting to throw a shot at him that he doesn't see coming either, right? And that part's very, very, very important that we understand that Crawford can see all of this coming. Boom, boom, right? There's nothing really sneaky about what Canelo's doing. so far. Now, again, 1, 1, 1, steals a 2. Canelo just moving off the line. He's not getting planted like Crawford does. Again, Crawford looking to stay off and move off the line and then find opportunities to get planted. But the lead hand control and the leashing right there, just doing such a great job. Notice how much Canelo is letting it interact with him, right? Touching, right? Moving off slowly, right? Gets his own hand back. He's not even controlling any space himself, right? Right? Keeping his hand to himself and allowing Crawford to kind of sneak up on him and land a shot. Again, a little bit of lead hand control. Now, this is one of those things. This is one of the reasons why Canelo is not actually stealing that many boxing shots from him. Now he takes it, he leashes right there, moves off the line, off here, moves back to the front foot, right? Cross the line. And as Crawford moves to the front foot, Canelo tries to throw a stepping jab at him. And look at how much he kind of falls forward and kind of gets stuck on the front foot there, right? It's not the smoothest peel. He doesn't get off the line super well. And it's one of the biggest reasons why Canelo doesn't open with that move all that much in this fight, why he has such limited moves, on top of the fact that Crawford is actually like very, very, very good at fighting off of the jab. Now, getting to the line from Crawford, touch. Again, 2 punches sound like one. How quickly he transitions from his control to a scoring shot, right? And again, completely outboxing him. Now, Canelo, I just want to point out in that last clip right there, by the way, we're going to go back to it real quick. This is all at the beginning of this round here. Oh, wait, not here. Is that? No. I'm thinking of something else. Sorry, guys. Yeah, not that clip either. Okay. Just kidding, guys. But jumping on the line, and again, jumps, big telegraph. Crawford elects to put his guard up, and we can see that the guard around his head, not very good because his gloves are in front of him. But he kind of sells out here, and Canelo doesn't usually have an exit plan. And he doesn't actually follow this punch up that often either, which is crazy because Mikey Garcia would throw a 3-2 like that, right? He would jump on the line with a 3-2, but he kind of sits here, and Crawford blasts him there with the shot right there. Now, this is really important because if Canelo is not knocking Crawford out with that shot, we recognize that he scored, but we also recognize that he got countered, so he didn't win the sequence. But he doesn't have very many ways to score. And that winds up being a huge problem for Canelo because every time he tries to score, he winds up being in a very easy position for Crawford to counter. Now, Canelo crossing the line, pendulum, 2 punches sound like one. He tells on himself right there, throws the shot. It's very easy for Canelo or for Crawford to read. Moves to circle. That was his 1-2. And then again, this is like so much of the fight right here where he just did his move. Crawford just escapes. And now as they're circling and moving around, Crawford just steals a punch right there, steals another punch right here. Whoops. Let me close that guy. Steals another punch right here, and then again gets off the line. And then what does Canelo do? Right? He can't fall behind, so he looks to sell out with one of his sellout punches. Now, Crawford catches this one up top, but notice most of them have been going to the body, and this one winds up going to the head here. He doesn't get it, right? But again, Canelo just did both of his moves in this clip, and then we saw him get circled on and get picked off, you know? And again, that just winds up being so much of the fight that Canelo just falls behind. Now, again, moving around, jumps onto the line, tells on himself. No real opportunity there to catch him. Now, very interesting. Boom. And look at him try to counter right there, maybe to prevent Canelo from following up. But Canelo doesn't really do that off that move. Leashing him here. Control. gives him a couple of little feints, and then another little control, and then peels again. When Crawford looks to steal points so far, he'll give him a couple of leashes, the 1-1-2 so far, get Canelo to break his base and pendulum off a little bit, and then just steal some shots. So he uses that same kind of pattern right there to like open up a little bit of space here, and then just recircle and get back to the center. Now, he knows that when he circles that direction, that Canelo is very likely to open up with a left hook to the body by now. And notice Canelo jumping onto the line again, that same offense. He only has so many moves. Crawford was moving in that direction, so Crawford just takes a step off the line, just a small step back, right? And Canelo doesn't actually get as deep into his line as he's trying to, right? And again, boom, just enough off the line right there, transfers weight toward his back foot, and then starts countering that shot. And again, this is going to be, again, one of those big problems that that Canelo winds up having, is his offense winds up being so easy to read. Now, you can't just let your opponent whack you when you're pivoting on the front foot. You're trying to escape, and this is going to be one of those things where Crawford needs to learn how to escape the corner a little bit better. You don't just want to do this kind of 50-50 kind of thing, because as we can see, what is he trying to block? Because he's not blocking the body, and we can see that there's a hole in his head as well. And we just want to think about that later. Okay, now Canelo gets on the line, throws the first shot, and what is Crawford doing? He immediately just exits the line very quickly. Again, observing the two punches sound like one on defense, both of those being defensive moves. Blocks and then peels, right? Now, excellent counter right here from Crawford. Again, he's going to give him a little bit of a leash here, sitting in the corner. Whoops, come back, film, come back. And then Canelo jumps on the line with the one, and again, Crawford knows he's not in any danger from that first move. He knows that he's fine, and when Canelo tries to throw the rear hand, he winds up crossing the line, throwing his body shot and walking right into Crawford's right hook. Really good trap. And again, when we understand the two punches sound like one, the first move that Canelo does only is used to close the distance. There's no real danger coming from that shot. Here's Crawford completely taking advantage of it and timing Canelo on the way inside. A beautiful shot. And again, he knows at what speed he's punching. The two punches sound like one speed is of Canelo, how quickly the shots are being sewn together. And he's timing him with an excellent shot, you know. Again, lead hand control, getting his leash out there. And again, look at how easily he's able to get control of Canelo. Canelo's just not respecting any of the lead hand control. He's just assuming it's going to be leashes, and then Crawford's going to be abandoning the line, and then he winds up turning it into offense right here when he just kind of sticks it in his face just a little bit more than he wants to. Right? Still not committing, gives him a third jab just to close the distance and whacks him, and even has a follow-up shot right there. And again, Canelo could be looking to disrupt that, right? He could be doing some stuff, but we're going to take a look. We got a bunch of rounds to look at, and again, there's going to be some major adjustments that are really cool. Now, getting on the line, leash, right? Another leash here, and then by the third leash here, Canelo looks to attack him and steals an excellent left hook to the body here. Now, again, Canelo with his puncher's chance. Bernard Hopkins, that guy punches like a sissy, and he knocked out Oscar De La Hoya, right? Canelo should be a hard puncher, should be landing these shots. Again, you can't just let your opponent land punches to your liver like this. Again, it's very dangerous. And I do want to say, there's a big narrative that Canelo didn't try. Man, we're going to see some really cool stuff coming up, you guys, that's going to make you guys be like, kind of respect Canelo, and his game in this fight. I think he fought a good fight. He's just not as good, Now, all-time great skill and all-time great flaw, right? So all-time great flaws here. Canelo again jumps on the line with that left hook right there. It's telegraphed. We know it's coming. He's jumping on the line. It's so obvious. Moves off the line. And now when he throws that shot, look at what Crawford counters him with. Boom, a big stepping jab. And now watch Crawford. Let's just not even pay attention to Canelo. Canelo's coiled right now. He's getting under this punch right here, right? If he was not out of position, right? If he could actually throw that punch and then fight off of it, right? Which would be an all-time great skill. Okay, he'd be able to counter Crawford, who gets kind of stuck in this front foot position. Look at how much effort Crawford exerts into this counter here when Canelo moves onto the line. Boom, and two punches sound like one. He throws that shot. Look how quickly Crawford comes back with his counter. He jumps off the line, back onto the line. Ooh, super quick. Now look at how much drag is on this move here. Look at how long he gets stuck on the front foot. If Canelo was able to bait with this punch, the same move here, boom, throw it, pull, he gets under, and then instead of coming up, backing up off the line, he came up with another punch. He'd be able to catch Crawford, right? But Canelo doesn't really train that stuff. He doesn't understand that being able to control your opponent with the first punch is part of boxing, that you have to be able to do that. And again, he just jumps on the line and just tries to whack Crawford, and again, high level boxing, you know, at the highest level, if you want to compete at the highest level, your opponent's going to see that first shot coming. Now, this was beautiful from Crawford, putting a little pressure. This was one of those highlight clips. Coming forward, gives him a little leash right there. Canelo tries to counter it as he's coming forward, right? And now I want to talk about this timing, right? We've seen Regis Prograis went down. He went down to Daniel Zarita and Devin Haney off of his pendulum walk. He came forward, got timed as he brought his front foot down and got onto the line. Canelo's trying the exact same timing, boom, and it's getting parried here. Okay? Here's Crawford protecting his pendulum walk forward. Beautiful, beautiful work. And then has a combination, boom, 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 that he's throwing at Canelo as Canelo exerts himself to throw that shot right there. Again, Canelo's not that good at just moving straight into his rear hand, boom, right? And again, you can even see he's here. He kind of jumps into it as well. But beautiful, beautiful work from Crawford right there. Excellent, excellent shots. Well, timing, excellent control of the line. Control. Now notice how quickly he peels off of the line after controlling him. Touch, peel. Two punches sound like one. Whoops. Now, and then immediately moves into a rear hand, controls the line, and now watch Canelo catches, counters. Observing the two punches sound like one rule. When Crawford touched the line with his rear hand, he caught it and then countered him because Crawford did touch the line and then he didn't move at the same pace as he was entering, right? He didn't respect the rule and now he got hit and touched, right? Again, high level boxing. Canelo making Crawford pay for not observing the rule right there. We'll just watch that again. This is just some beautiful boxing here. Beautiful, beautiful. And again, a lot of little stuff here. Now here we go into the third round here. Canelo, he knows, boom, steals a punch. He knows what he does when he jumps on the line, so he gives him a feint, right? Okay, good work, good work. And then jumps on the line. Again, two punches sound like one, and Crawford can easily see the timing and read the rhythm and not get hit cleanly. Right? He kind of gets touched a little bit there, but it's not the hardest shot. Now, jumping on the line again, trying to steal that shot, telegraphing, boom, boom, and then Crawford hasn't really moved yet, hasn't really done anything. Canelo never has an exit plan, so he starts countering him. Now, again, Canelo just doesn't have that many things that he can do on the outside that are not jumping onto the line, right? Now, here he is. One of the few times early in the fight that he pendulums onto the line, right? And he's not doing anything. And Crawford just times him, boom, boom, and throws a little combination right here. Nothing special, but again, if Canelo didn't explode off of jumping onto the line like that, then he was not going to do anything, and he was just going to allow himself to get kind of leashed anyway. So Crawford just kind of throws a chain of punches here and then just moves off the line. And again, we know that Canelo's not really countering that kind of stuff at the moment. A little bit of leashing, again, leashing, and then stealing a shot off of the leash. Two punches sound like one. Stealing a shot right there, and then again stealing another shot in between Canelo's 1-2 right there, and then making him miss right there. Again, incredible speed. And again, getting to watch the fight, I got to watch the fight live. I forgot to look for myself in the stands or anything. I could point it out if I see myself now, but anyway. Boom, jumping on the line, doesn't react correctly. Again, doesn't predict it's going to be a headshot, doesn't have a good block. And again, if you fight a guy who hits really hard, Canelo hits kind of hard, he's not the greatest puncher, right? But more importantly, as Crawford continues to challenge himself, these holes are going to be more glaring, and they're going to be attacked more by guys who are taller. Because again, remember how hard Canelo is having to work to get into range. But guys who are taller are going to be in range more often, and they're going to be able to attack these kind of holes right here. Like, as much as I would favor the overall outcome of Crawford beating Jaron Ennis, Jaron Ennis would give Crawford nightmares early in the fight. It would be a tough, hard fight, and then I believe that Crawford would knock him out. But these kind of holes right here by somebody fast like Jaron Ennis, they would be exploitable, right? Murtazaliev, right, has a very good left hook as well. It's very quick. It's not that quick. It's like, a little bit slow. It's kind of quick. Tim Tszyu has good hands at this height. Honestly, that would have been such a good fight, even though Crawford would have knocked Tim Tszyu out worse than Fundora. It would have been a nuts fight because Tim Tszyu has fast hands and he can compete with a little bit of the hand speed. But anyway, when you're taking your 50-50s, right, Crawford didn't even have a 50-50 here. He had a 25, right? There was a 25% chance that he was going to block his head or his body. Neither one of them were that good. And again, that was Canelo's only shot, was to be stealing those kind of things. And again, jumps on the line. You can see him making that break onto the line. He's here. They're sitting still. Boom, 1, 2, and Crawford can easily see it coming. There's almost no challenge at all. Now, jumping onto the line, boom, 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 and now he's getting countered. Now Crawford finally finding an opportunity to counter him as he's coming in. Notice the body shot comes, he gets coiled, comes down, and then boom, boom, blasts into this counter. Excellent work here. And again, getting down, right? Again, Crawford being a good striker, gets down, coil, so he can engage his structure and do his 2-foot punching, and then comes out of this shot. And again, that's one of the dangerous things about jumping onto another guy's line, right? And this is the problem, right? When we think about the scoring and why Canelo lost and Crawford won, whenever Crawford jumps onto Canelo's line, Canelo just runs. And now here's Canelo jumping onto Crawford's line, getting some points, and then losing some points. Right? So when Canelo gets points, Crawford gets points. When Crawford gets points, Crawford gets points. Now, start of the 4th round is really interesting. He's, boom, gets him in the eye with a jab here, moves off the line, and then Crawford's going to be stealing yet another jab here. Whoop. And now he's moving through the line, picks him off again. 2 punches sound like one, a little bit theory, touch, and then boom, right? Again, explodes into that shot. And now Canelo is finding himself behind in points already, right? So he's finding himself behind in points. I just want to point out, this is really funny. Very high level tactic right here. Just take a look here. Stepping on his foot here as he walks under the line here, and then tries to hit him with a leaping hook while he can't move his head that far away. And again, Canelo kind of has to sell out here, right? It's 14 seconds into the 4th round, right? And he's already been hit. He's already down 3 points. And he knows that he can't just let Crawford pile up points on him. So he has to kind of sell out, does that leaping shot while Crawford is coiled right here, and then comes back with the combination here. And again, even though he doesn't exactly land all the shots, again, it's very dangerous to jump onto somebody's line. Boom, boom, boom. And again, Canelo has not been showing Crawford that it's dangerous to jump on his line. Now again, the body shot comes again. He's controlling him, leashing him, moves off the line, pendulums. Canelo jumps onto his line, lands a good body shot. It does look like Crawford is trying to get a little bit more control with him, gets coiled, and then counter. Again, getting more and more comfortable, kind of eating that shot, and then making Canelo pay for throwing it. And again, Canelo just doesn't have that many opportunities to even score points because he's so limited in the ways that he can get on and off the line. Leash, control, 2 punches sound like one there. And then beautiful work. Again, gave him a lead hand control leash last time. He pendulums onto the line. And now look at Canelo trying to control the lead hand here, right? So again, at the beginning of this clip, if we take a look, as Canelo's coming forward, controlling him with the lead hand, and look at him try to stuff it. And at the end of the clip, he's coming forward trying to stuff that lead hand, and instead of it being a lead hand control, Crawford switches it up to a rear hand control and lands a free punch while Canelo is reaching for lead hand control, trying to come down from his pendulum step. Right? Now remember when we saw Crawford protecting his pendulum step from a rear hand, he was able to parry the rear hand and then continue. And now here we see Canelo trying the same thing and getting caught here. Right? Again, there's levels to it. Right? And again, I predicted that Crawford was going to beat Canelo. I also predicted that he was going to get whacked by a whole bunch of left hooks to the body and a whole bunch of left hooks to the head as well. And I was just betting that he was going to be able to take the shot. He was going to be able to see it coming enough, just because Canelo doesn't follow up. He doesn't punch in combination. Now, take a look at Crawford moving around, circling, easily going around, and Canelo not wanting to leap onto his line with the left hook, not wanting to sell out with the 1-2, not wanting to get countered, right? Because he's got countered throwing that left hook a bunch of times, so he didn't want to get baited into throwing it there, right? Now coming forward, trying to work and control the lead hand. Look at how close he's getting to him, right? Refuses to do something, refuses because he doesn't want to get countered. He doesn't want to waste his energy. Look at how much feints he gives and gets Crawford out of position before he finally lands a good shot. But again, making a little adjustment, right? Not wanting to get countered, just saying, screw it. I'm just going to get close to Crawford, make him go first, or he's going to run. And then finally gets Crawford, right, to circle, gets him trapped in the corner, and then gets Crawford to do the work for him. Goodness, these clips are so bad. But gets Crawford to do the work for him of crossing his line, right? So he's going to cross Canelo's line here, and then it makes it much easier for Canelo to time landing that shot because he doesn't really have to move. Crawford's kind of being walked into it. Again, I don't know if you guys listen to that guy Hidden Gem as well, that guy, a rip-off artist, using all my terms as well, same stuff, but screw that guy. Now, a little bit of the fourth round here. Okay, I want to point out, he starts leashing here, gives him a lead hand control, and Canelo immediately pull counters it and kind of whacks Crawford. Look at the placement of the glove. He gets him right on the chin here. And this is a very, very, very important. Again, when we think about this concept, all-time great skills, 2 punches sound like 1. Crawford immediately off of the leash here, boom, pull, counter, 2 punches sound like 1, sowing a defensive move with an offensive move as fast as he could, trying to do them as if they were 1 beat. Right? And again, able to find a way off of Crawford's leash right there to make some offense. Actually, a really, really, really nice adjustment from Canelo. Now, we're going to continue looking. Here's a jab, or a probing jab from Crawford. Now, the second one, remember he's been doing double leashes. He's going to pull to the inside again, right? And then try to attack him to the body. A beautiful shot. But Crawford missed his shot, right? He missed his leash. And now he's going to be kind of pushing Canelo's head down and stopping him from following up. But that was a very, very, very good trap to the leash of Crawford. Okay, now this is a really, really cool adjustment here because, again, a leash. And now look at Canelo attack him. As soon as the leash comes out, Crawford's not getting away with just controlling space for free, right? Now, it's funny because this is what you would imagine would happen if a beginner just goes out into a fight with a guy and sticks his hand out, lead hand control, and then the other guy just punches him in the face, right? But again, I want to talk about 2 punches sound like 1 theory, right? Because Crawford, he's going to touch the line, and if he doesn't observe 2 punches sound like 1 theory, control, he's going to get hit. Right? And most beginners, when they go out there to try to control some space, they're not athletes. They don't have any good snap. They don't have any good speed. So if you go out there and you try this harder stuff, sometimes a faster guy is going to make you think it doesn't work, right? But just because he's able to sew these beats together himself better. But starting to put a little bit of pressure on Crawford's scoring tools, right? So Crawford, not controlling any space now. He's like, okay, what do I do now? Every time I leash, Every time I stick my hand out there, Canelo's attacking me. So all right, I'll do some active guard. Now notice I'm crossing the line here, and now he jumps on the line with the one. There's no leash here from Crawford, right? Crawford just transitioned his way to the back foot here toward the left side of the line here. Boom, and the one comes, and look at that. Canelo finally lands a clean shot, a clean, hard shot. Crawford wasn't able to get off the line, but he was able to, in the fourth round, start breaking down a little bit of the lead hand control of Crawford to be able to jump onto the line and surprise him with the left enough to land with the right. And again, two punches sound like one, right? Boom, boom, right? Not allowing Crawford to realize, see, boom, there's no lead hand control, right? Got that shot, almost made a very good connection, and I didn't have time to react and predict what it was going to be. And notice also, look at what his guard was if it was a rear hand to the head. Was it even a good guard to the head if he had chosen to the head? And again, all because he started attacking the leash and the lead hand of Crawford, right? Beautiful, beautiful adjustment from Canelo. And again, it's not like he's not trying, right? Really, really good shot here from Canelo. Now, I just wanted to point out two punches sound like one. One, two, goes to the head this time instead of to the body. Not that much to say about it. I just wanted to point this clip out. I thought it was a pretty good shot, but still, even one of the best ones that he lands, still mostly telegraphed. Leash, and now he goes to stick his leash out here. Oh, he didn't want to do two leashes in a row, and Canelo's ready, right, when the next one comes out to counter him, right? Beautiful, beautiful work. Again, putting pressure on the leash of Crawford, not allowing him to use the control that he's getting on the line with the leash for multiple beats in a row. Again, it was an excellent, excellent adjustment. And I remember watching the round live and giving the round to Canelo. I remember explicitly giving it to him live. I remember going back and rescoring it on Patreon. We did a full fight film study. If you guys want to watch the whole thing, it's on Patreon. But I think, I gave the round to Crawford, rewatching it. But watching it live, this looked like a really incredible round from Canelo. Now, again, jumping onto the line with this little thing here, and then eating a shot because he doesn't have really post-punch defense. And then again, jumping onto the line with even more shots. And I just want to point out this clip kind of sums up so much of the fight. We talked about it earlier. Not only is it all of Canelo's offense, but I just want you guys to pay attention. Even if we count this as a body shot landed, right, which it's blocked, right? We at least know that Crawford is in the vicinity of not letting it land clean. And then he jumped on the line, exploded into that shot. Wow! Gets countered here. Wow! Wow! And then misses two more shots. And this is very important when we think about the overall flow of the fight, because this was one of the averages, right? When Canelo's chasing Crawford around, when he does anything in the middle of the ring, he's just exerting energy almost for no reason. And then getting scored on. So if you're thinking about the resources, right? It's like whenever you make an attack on it does zero damage, right? And you're just wasting your stamina, and it winds up being a little bit like that. Now, you guys see that right there? Crawford gets to the line. He's going to give him one leash and then moves off the line. Now, did he get to the front foot here? Did he leash again? No. Leash here, off the line. Notice he's not chaining them together as much, right? Gives him a couple of feints, gives him a leash, and then starts moving off the line. Again, a big, big, big change in the overall tempo and the control of the fight there, because Canelo started attacking the leashes from Crawford. Now, remember earlier, he landed that right hook counter that he was setting up off of the 1-2, off of the same timing, the same control here. Now he lands another one here, and it winds up being one of the better shots of the fight, stealing a shot here, right? And then Canelo jumping onto the line, boom, and then getting timed perfectly with this right hook here. And Crawford's moving his head off the line. He is getting kind of touched right there, but he lands like a really, really good right hook right there, I think. And again, the timing, because he can see the timing of what Canelo's doing so well, it's so basic. Um, he's able to land these very, very, very clean and hard flush shots. And it's tough live to know who exactly is landing the hard shot, who's doing the best work and stuff. The fighters know that's why posturing works so well. That's why fighters shake their head. That's why they like hold their guard there. They do these things. Now, as we continue going on, the leash comes out, and look at Canelo keeping his guard up as he pendulums off the line early. Notice he didn't wait for the double jab to start allowing Crawford to put pressure and getting that lead foot dominance, right? He doesn't allow Crawford to start getting forward, right? Jab with the back foot, and then before the other one can come, he's already moving off of the line, not allowing Crawford to take that lead foot dominance. Now, again, Crawford doing a little bit of goofy stuff here, right? Right? When do we ever see him doing stuff like this with his arms, right? Right? Again, trying to get lead foot dominance. Canelo maintaining control of the lead hand instead of sacrificing it, right? And moving off the line, right? Again, interacting with the leashes much more purposefully in this round, right? Not allowing Crawford to just easily steal control of the line. Even though he's still just penduluming off, he's still interacting with each one of the leash beats instead of just allowing them to flood his line. Now, again, look at what a dramatic impact it's having on the overall scoring part of the fight. The jab comes and he gets off the line, right? Little stolen shot again while he's penduluming, he's in the air, right? But again, not really allowing Crawford to get on the line to flood his line with those shots as easily. Boom. And then again, the leash coming from Canelo, right? And again, two punches sound like one. Here it comes, bop, it gets parried. Two punches sound like one theory. Crawford or Canelo has the leash, and because it's an active leash, it's not just, sometimes Crawford will be a kind of a dummy with his leash, right? It won't be anything off of it. It'll just be like, oh, I'm leashing. I'm going to do that until I get over to this space, all the way over here. And then what am I going to do when I get a boom? And then he gets hit sometimes. Previous fights, sometimes in this fight. But Canelo puts an active leash out there. He maintains awareness, and after he touches the line, touch, two punches sound like one. Crawford touches it and then immediately explodes into another shot, trying to break his rhythm. Touch, whack! And then Canelo, touch, whack! On defense. Pretty good boxing. Okay? Very, very, very cool development in the fight. Now, jumping on the line, whacks him with the hook again. Now, this is very, very, very important, Ken, because is Crawford going to be getting hit with this shot if he's leashing correctly? Probably not. But it's interesting because if we take a look and we think again back on that last clip, right? Crawford, anytime he sticks his leash out and he starts trying to figure out where he is, he tells Canelo, hey, I'm trying to figure out where I'm at. And then he's also telling, when he figures out where he's at, Canelo knows where he's at. So now he has to not be using it because he knows, he understands he's giving so much information to Canelo as well. And if he sticks his lead hand out there and then Canelo leaves and he can't score, right? And if he's leaving and he's not scoring, he's not able to set up his own offense. But if Canelo's leaving, then he's also not throwing punches, so Crawford can't counter him either. Right? So there's no opportunity if Crawford looks to use his leash right now to score because it completely disengages Canelo. Right? So because he doesn't want to use it, it also doesn't give its layer of defense. So he doesn't see this shot coming here, and Canelo winds up doing the 50-50 thing. Crawford probably banks on this being more of a body shot than a head shot, probably has his arm coming down a little bit, and he winds up getting hit with a shot that if Canelo was a better fighter, he could win the fight. And again, this was one of those big gambles for me, where this was the only way that Canelo could really win. Right now, it still winds up being very obvious that it's coming. That's the problem. That's the only problem. And so Crawford can still brace for it. But I want you to pay attention to the fact that he was able to attack the lead hand and destabilize its value enough that Crawford stopped using it, enough for Canelo to find a hole to attack him. Excellent boxing from Canelo. Really, really good. Whoops. Didn't mean to close that one, but who cares? Now, circling and stepping around. Getting to the line, boom, boom, has a little trap to explode into, right? But again, doing it off of his circling, right? Not just standing in front of him, gives him the one, gives him the two, gets off the line. Now again, Crawford, 2 punches sound like one, catch, counter, right? But again, a significant difference in the tempo and the flow of the fight right now, because of Canelo's, um, refusal to interact with Crawford's leash. Again, a leash right there, and then Crawford peels, or Canelo peels. Feinting him here. Now again, beautiful boxing from Canelo. He knows what his left hook looks like as well. Gives him a left hook feint here. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Circling, not engaging him, crossing the line. Now I just want to point out right here, again, this is so important because Canelo does this move so much. He never throws his rear hand here. He never just lets this shot go and controls space. Boom, boom, boom. Beautiful boxing. And again, all because of the circling, right? Throws the leash out, sees the leash coming from him. 2 punches sound like one, catch, counter, and then he's catching and countering. Beautiful boxing, you know? And again, this stuff kind of just doesn't happen always in fights because you don't have guys that are so good at weaving through the line and interacting with each other, right? Now, again, Canelo not wanting to give Crawford the control the line off of those jabs, off of those leashing. He sees that he starts controlling him. Boom, boom, and immediately starts coming off, not giving him control, not shelling up, not telling him it's safe to come forward. Now, a little bit of a feinting here from Canelo. Boom, boom, feints him, gives him with the 1-1. Again, Canelo knows what his feints look like as well. And then jumps into a body shot here when he gets Crawford moving around. And again, the lack of the leashing, right? The fact that he's not allowing Crawford to use the leashing to make himself safe makes it much easier for him to get away with landing these shots. Now, again, is he blocking the actual body shot, right? I can't really tell if it's landing, but we can see that there's a hole. We can see that, there's space there. Now, no lead hand control, no leashes, no nothing here. And we get this wild sequence here where Canelo just jumps naked onto the line, throws his left, and Crawford's like, well, I wasn't leashing with it, so whack, whack, and then follows up with a little combination here. And again, Canelo, his lack of his ability to kind of like box and steal shots, right? And that's what we've kind of seen him trying to do in the fourth and fifth round, steal shots from Crawford rather than just jump on his line and oos, right? But his lack of a jab, his lack of a rear hand probe, like I was mentioning, they're stopping him from controlling the line in positions where he has a stable base and he can follow up shots, and again, just, ever so slightly falling behind on the scoring because of it. Leash, rear hand instead of double. Now, having a little bit more difficult time. And I wonder if at this point, if Crawford realizes I'm the one being leashed right now. Because here's Canelo moving onto the line and then exit and onto the line. Gets touched, exit, right? And here's his own version of leashing Crawford, right? Kind of waiting, not getting overwhelmed on the line, not getting pushed all the way to his back foot, maintaining space on his front foot, retransitioning the line after he pendulums to the back foot, to the front foot very quickly to reestablish control of the line with his guard. And again, does Crawford even realize right now that he's being leashed? I don't even know. But again, the leash and then the attacks off the leash, the 2 punches sound like one timing. Canelo's still not great at dealing with them. Bop, bop, feinting right there. Boom, boom, boom. Stealing a nice shot right there through the guard. Again, just the timing right there is just too quick for Canelo. Boom, boom, for him to see and interact with again. Yeah, just not that good at all those counters himself. One, two. And again, he lands a decent shot right there, but, catch, counter. Now, beautiful little sequence here. Again, when we don't have any lead hand control, Crawford has been mindful, right, that the lead hand control has been being attacked. So here he gives him a little bit of lead hand control, right? Gives him the move that he's waiting for, baits him in here, and then counter, counter. This is an all-time great skill. Remember earlier when I talked about that it was an all-time great flaw of Canelo for him not to be able to jump onto the line, throw the hook, get the counter from Crawford that was causing him to overexert himself and fall onto the front foot like that, and then be able to counter him. But here we can directly see, so even if you didn't agree with me, here we can directly see the value of that is that Crawford here, he's like, okay, I know what's happening now, and I have a plan for it. So I know what he's going to do when I do this, and now I'm going to do that to counter it. And again, just absolutely beautiful boxing. Crawford just figuring out a way to beat him on every street eventually, but there was a great adjustment from Canelo. And again, mitigating a little bit of his defense there or his offense there by penduluming off the line, maintaining lead hand control, and then again jumping on the line here. And look at him landing clean here. But again, Canelo's not the best striker. He doesn't actually know how to land correctly with his hand, but he does wind up catching Bud right there. And again, is it 50-50? Is it less? Is it more? Again, he has the guard. The most important thing is he sees the timing coming, right? But again, without the lead hand control, it winds up being much, much easier for Canelo to get his 50-50s going, right? To actually start playing blackjack with his opponent, instead of it just being like, oh, I'm just going to get outboxed. The guy's going to have better positions than me. Again, Crawford tries to use the leash right here. Boom. And then Canelo's like, okay, do it again, sucker. Do it again. Ah! And he doesn't even care if he does it. He's ready to jump onto the line as soon as the leash starts coming and attack it. Again, leash comes out, pull, counter, and again, pull, gets under those shots. And Canelo's like, hell no, I'm not staying under here. Hell no, you're not going to embarrass me. This is my house, and uses a ton of energy for, not a ton of boxing. But more importantly, a great clip, right, to continue showing the flow of the fight there. And again, them both trying to fight over the leash is right there, feinting an attack on the leash. Now, again, remember when he attacked the leash last time and Crawford was ready? Here's Crawford getting in ready to his trap right there and then not getting to go. Again, great adjustments from Canelo, trying to force those out, moving off the line. And then again, gets him to jump on the line, steals a shot. Beautiful. And then counter. Again, Canelo really made a decent adjustment in this fight to try to outbox Crawford, to really suss out what he's doing, right? Again, great adjustments, and then again, some good feints too, right? Again, really, really, really aware of what Crawford is doing. He just doesn't have enough openers. He doesn't have enough probes, right? And again, pushing him off the line, same. And a little trick right here, right? Pushes him off the line, right? And now when Canelo comes back to the line, rhythm step, boom, whacks him with a 2-3 right there. And nice little trick right there. Thought it was kind of cool. Now we just got a few more clips here. Now again, no lead hand control, jumps on the line with the hook. Ooh, kind of misses. And Crawford is able to make him kind of pay for that one right there. Just wanted to kind of show that, again, it's very, very dangerous to throw that shot. And if you can't fight off of it and you can't protect that shot, it's very, very, very risky. If your opponent is willing to jump on your line and steal it, right? Again, Crawford very, very hesitant to leash, right? Now, again, another one of those things where he's penduluming onto the line, right? Control with the lead hand. And then again, is he expecting when he comes down, right? Pendulum. He's going to be throwing that left. And again, he throws the left, and anything that your opponent does, right? If they're leashing, if they're going to control space, if they do this, someone else can be punching, right? And Canelo makes that same timing, that same movement, right? Gets to the line, and then jumps left, throws the left, and as he's throwing the left, Crawford's smashing him with the right, and it's just actually barely enough to really disrupt Canelo from landing it right there. But again, just some really really excellent shots in this fight from Crawford. You know, doing a really really good job walking Crawford into Canelo into big shots each round. Again, the last couple rounds he's walked him into right hooks. That one was a straight left hand. Leash, leash. Two punches sound like one. Leash. No follow up leash. 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 Is Canelo tired? Stealing a body shot. And then whacking him here again. Um, Crawford really not wanting to challenge Canelo on the line at this moment in the sixth round, really not wanting to allow him to exert himself and use his energy to throw hard shots, but all-time great flaw, pivoting on the front foot here, circling this way. Again, I was pretty sure when I was younger watching southpaws, because I was a southpaw, and when I used to fight guys in the street, that move was a no-no. I knew that when I threw my rear hand and I got to the front foot, I was in crazy danger, and I could never be circling and moving around guys like that because I always fought guys who were way bigger than me. In 1 year, I grew like almost a whole foot. Okay. So when I was younger, I was fighting guys who were always way bigger than me. So I already knew that rule inherently because guys were always close to me. So I could never get away with that move. But I knew it was real for a fact, not just like my own theory anymore. When I watched Zab Judah get absolutely destroyed by Miguel Cotto pivoting on the front foot over and over and over again. And again, here I just want to point out Crawford, we all know he's a good fighter, but here he is getting walked right into predicting the body, getting walked right into a left hook to the head. And again, look at all the effort that Canelo's putting in this shot. Look at how, boom, crazy, crazy big shot here. And again, leash, counter, right? And again, two punches sound like one, right? Canelo much, much more up on that leash. Double jab right there. You call it a leash, but it's a control and a punch, right? Control. Again, he doesn't want to overuse his leash. He doesn't want to invite too many traps, right? And too many counters. Gets Canelo to commit first, and then gets to safely walk out of the corner there. Again, all the leashing here has gone from Crawford, and it's finally exposing himself a little bit. And we see shots like this again, very, very, very small margins in this fight, right? Overall, Crawford dominated the majority of this fight in the boxing and the strategy and all this stuff, but Canelo still consistently found holes, right, to land significant types of strikes on Crawford. So we don't want to forget that. We don't want to just say, oh, he's a bum anyway. He didn't even try. All that stuff. Boom, boom. Beautiful work again. The leash coming out from Crawford. Touch, right? And then the second one gets Russian parried here. Pop, pop. And again, two punches sound like one, right? Canelo really has to exert himself off of catching that shot. And again, the leashing from Crawford is just not safe anymore, right? Again, taking that away and then turning it, more into a fair fight, a fair fight, whatever that means, right? Now, I thought this clip was funny too because he gives him a double leash out of the nowhere, right? He goes touch, touch, and then see how he kind of pauses, huh? Boom, 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 and then steals a combination, then gets off. All right, last two clips here. Jumps on the line, throws a body shot here. Okay, Bowman steals another body shot there as he's pushing him around. Okay, and now he's going to get on the line right after doing that. Boom, and whack Crawford again here in the head. And again, by being able to break the lead hand control pattern and the leashing pattern and stop Crawford from being able to see this shot coming, Canelo was consistently able to get to the line and land clean shots to the body, clean shots to the head of Crawford. His defense wasn't perfect. There are things to be picked up on. There are patterns that you want to force Crawford into making and to competing in, and there are patterns you want to avoid with him. And Canelo actually did a lot of great things with his very limited skill set, right? With his very limited ability, um, his limited amount of opening shots, right? Now, if you guys want to learn how to do all this stuff, again, you guys can check out my Discord. I have a Discord. There's like almost 70 people in there that I'm teaching and coaching and all this stuff. And every single problem that you guys have in boxing, I fixed. Okay, I've solved completely all of boxing. I have all the best patterns. Now, this is also a really, really cool sequence here because he's getting him in the corner here, right? And he recognizes that Crawford is going to exit the line here. He's not going to enter the line, and Canelo's able to kind of hide, right, with his little movement, right, that he's going to do this move as he's matching that rhythm with Crawford, right? Crawford's on the front foot, back foot, front foot, back foot, and now he's already on the back foot. He's going to take that wide step, and Canelo sees that he's about to take that wide step and cuts him off. Now, last little thing, right? Last little clip here. He's following him around. Again, the leashes have been broken, but he gives him one leash and then gets off the line. And now again, gives him a rear hand right after that, breaking the pattern. And again, if you ask yourself, what do I do if my opponent has good lead hand control and I do this and I do that? Look at how easy it was. He just transitioned from the lead hand control to throwing a rear hand control shot, and he was able to start the scoring process again. Anyway, most of the fight is pretty redundant. There are still a lot of great punches and a lot of great sequences. It took me a whole bunch of time to watch the fight and chop clips and all that stuff. But if you guys want to watch the full fight film study, I watched it on Patreon already. There's a 7-day free trial, all that good stuff. Yeah. Also, if you guys are looking for coaching, again, I'm the first coach in history to be able to figure out all the punching power. I'm also the coach that solved all of film study. Every single film study artist on the planet uses my film theory, uses exactly the way that I teach and talk about boxing, talks about the things that I talk about. Just watch as I transition. A couple years ago, I was talking about weight transitions and controlling your opponents. And look at how much of film study is talking about circling and stepping around and people talking about lateral traps. Look at how much of film studies. That's because I shifted my focus to talking about that stuff 2 years ago. That's why everyone's talking about it. Okay, I'm the guy. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Blah, 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 blah.